Alright guys, chapter 2, still at the diner. There's a little bit of tension between Falco and Fox, which will be continued shortly. So let's just jump right in. No experience, repeated Fox. Granted, she was not in the Cornerian military, but I think she has potential. She knew how to handle weaponry, and yeah, 2,000-year-old staff is sure going to help with... Alright, that's enough, said Peppy calmly. Both Fox and Falco ceased arguing immediately. I think we can all agree that Crystal is a very important addition to the team and that she has helped us out of countless predicaments. Her gifts have served the Starfox team well and we are very lucky to have her. Falco sat back in his chair again moodily and Fox rested his chin on his fist. Slippy looked quite uncomfortable. Oh look, the food's here, he said as if to lighten the tension. The waitress arrived again and placed 5 platters on the table just as Crystal entered the room and waved at her teammates.
Afternoon, everyone,
she said cheerfully, taking her seat next to Falco. He made a face, but Crystal did not seem to notice. She smiled at everyone, especially Fox, but he only looked away. Crystal convinced herself that everyone was just under the weather, and began to spoon assorted fruit into her mouth. The team all started in on their brunches in silence, except for the gross smacking noises made by Falco slurping up his breakfast. Peppy gave a disgruntled grunt. At least try and taste your food before you inhale it, he said, noting Falco's greasy face and cheeks full of food. Falco tried to stick his tongue out at the elder, but food splattered all down his front in the attempt to open his mouth. Fox threw a napkin at the bird's face with a disgusted look. You're sick. Falco swatted the napkin away and swallowed his mouthful of mush, glaring daggers at Fox's green orbs and putting the entire party in a particularly awkward situation. Crystal could have sensed the joking turning into tension even without her telepathy. While the goring match continued, Crystal leaned into Peppy and whispered,
what's wrong with them?
Peppy wiped his mouth with his napkin. Oh, just the usual morning spat. Would you pass the syrup, dear? Crystal passed it.
So, anything interesting happened to anyone last night?
She started in her attempt at conversation. Slippy jumped at the question, glad for a distraction. Well, Amanda called me twice last night while I was in the shower and ranted about wedding flowers or something like that. She said she wanted to discuss it more at the banquet. Slippy trailed off as if changing his mind about speaking and started eating again, signaling the end of the conversation. Crystal knew he wanted to drop the subject, so she turned her attention to Peppy.
And how did you sleep, Peppy?
Very well, actually, Peppy replied, giving Crystal a little smile. Crystal smiled back. Peppy was one of the first ones to accept her onto the team, even though she knew she was definitely not as qualified as the others. He was her grandfather figure who always knew exactly what to say at just the right moments, and Crystal tried not to think about what would have happened if Peppy really had died on the mission. So what's on the agenda for today, Crystal? Peppy asked, snapping the vixen out of her thoughts. Crystal thought for a moment.
Well, I was hoping I could go shopping for a gown. For the banquet tomorrow evening.
Crystal looked over at Fox expectantly, as if he was going to volunteer to accompany her around town, but the fox looked as clueless as Falco usually did on a regular basis.
Corneria is still very new to me,
she continued, still hoping to catch Fox's attention.
I may have trouble finding where to go.
This time she looked at Fox and addressed him directly.
I may need some assistance?
Fox blinked once and reached into his pocket. He pulled out a little electronic device and handed it across the table. Crystal took it with a puzzled expression. Here, he grunted. It's a lilac positioning system. It's like what you used on the R-Wing. And the subject was forever dropped. Crystal could not help but feel a little disappointed. She didn't really feel like drinking her tea anymore. She attempted a smile and
Excuse me,
as she got up from her chair and left the dining hall. Peppy, Slippy, and Falco watched her as she left, feeling more awkward than before. What's her problem? Falco asked the table, licking the syrup off his plate. She asked for a guide and you gave her the LPS. No big deal. Peppy raised an eyebrow. Falco, you don't understand. I think that Crystal was insinuating that she wanted Fox to take her out on the town. He looked directly at the leader over his spectacles, but the leader was making a point to study his shoes. She likes you, Fox, Peppy said. Fox didn't move, but Falco perked up like Christmas had come early. Wait, what? You're saying that she digs this loser? Falco smacked Fox in the back with so much force that it took the fox a minute to regain his breath. Shut up, Falco, he said dangerously between his teeth. Oh, how adorable. The press will go AWOL over this. Falco blinked his imaginary eyelashes and placed both hands in the air. Breaking news! Fox McCloud proposes to the slut of the Starfox team! Falco was unable to finish the fantasy because Fox had nonchalantly swept his foot under the legs of Falco's chair, causing the bird to fall backwards and knock over 3 waiters. Fox crossed his legs as if nothing had happened and looked in the other direction. Pepe shook his head. Here we are, Starfox team. Crystal held her breath as she looked out the window of the vehicle and beheld 1,000 flashes of light like twinkling stars. The press was here to report on the banquet, but they were not allowed inside the hall, which gave Crystal a bit of relief. The car came to a complete stop.
Ready, everyone?
She asked. There was a murmur of consent and the door opened. Fox exited the car first, nodding politely to the cameras and holding out his hand to help Crystal out of the vehicle. The blue vixen gave Fox a brilliant smile, but he turned away and began walking into the building alone. Crystal suppressed a frown and smiled courteously for the cameras as she waited for the rest of the team to join her in the brisk night air. Hey, Miss Crystal, tell us about your romantic life. Crystal ignored this particular Italian interviewer and instead helped Pepe from the car, leading him through the flashing lights into the banquet hall. Pepe patted her hand comfortingly, thanking her for the help. My daughter will be here, he said to her in an undertone. She will be very pleased to see you again. Crystal's mood lightened considerably.
And you,
she replied. Crystal had missed Lucy Hare, and it would be nice to have someone to talk to for a change. Hurry up, complained Falco in a whisper. I'm starved. Crystal walked even more slowly then, just to get on his nerves. When the doors opened and they finally entered the building, Crystal was hit with a rush of cool air and glorious smells. The entrance hall looked fantastic with blood-red drapes hanging from the lofty ceilings, colorful lights, silver balloons, and finally, 2 lines of Flight Academy students to salute the Starfox team as they passed by. Crystal nodded to each student kindly, and a feeling of anticipation welled up in her stomach as they neared the great hall.
Daddy!
Pepe's ears perked at the sound of the familiar voice. Across the hall stood a perky rabbit in a bright yellow dress. She was waving exuberantly. Crystal let go of Pepe's arm and allowed him to go to his daughter. She watched them hug and pushed away a twinge of jealousy, deciding that she would talk to Lucy later. Crystal went off on her own to find people she knew and spotted Slippy a distance away. As she made a move to go over and talk to him, however, she sensed some caution in his mind. She stopped and swiveled her ears around, catching sight of a pinkish frog making her way over to her fiancé. It was Amanda. But why in Cornelia would Slippy be stressed about that? Alright, well that is the end of Chapter 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Trust me, it gets a lot better from here on out. There's definitely a lot of tension and a lot of motion in the next chapter. It's really going to pick up. This is just, getting things started. Yeah, if you're getting into this, then definitely check out the next chapter once we get it up. You will not be disappointed. So, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.